to prescribe. So someone from our community and voluntary service in Bolton described it as it's like a travel agent with no holidays to book people onto. So unless you actually invest in the social infrastructure, and altogether we put around 13 million over a 5-year period into the community and voluntary sector, at a time when I could see other organisations close by cutting their community and voluntary sector grants, which to me is just pure madness. And as a result of that investment in the community and a number of other things, we've got the amazing Will Brandemer in the room today. Wave, Will. Stand up, Will. Let's embarrass Will. This guy is an amazing leader, thought leader. He did a lot of the work on the Wigan deal, and if anybody wants to know how to do it, go and have a chat. Go and have a chat with Will. He's now migrated over to Manchester Local Care Organisation, but he's brilliant. An NHS person who gets whole system reform, which is fantastic. But we introduced 7 integrated place-based teams that were all about passing power to communities, working differently with residents. We worked on a Nesta project called Creative Councils, and instead of just having it as a little interesting project, we just made it the way we did everything, absolutely everything, whether it was schools, whether it was adult social care, whether it was the way we emptied the bins. So recycling was a really important part of the deal as well. So where is it not happening? National government, please. We were a little bit disappointed in the budget because the only mention of community, I think, in yesterday's budget was referring to people as human capital, which sounded a bit scary to me. People are more than that, just human capital, just fodder for the economic machine. It's a very economistic view. And, you know, who is going to support people to get through the corona situation? The NHS will play a massive role. The main impact, I think, will be on social care, on reablement services. But the thing that will get us through is neighbourhoods, communities, friendship groups, social infrastructure. That's the thing that will help us to get through it. But it is starting to shape the leadership contest, which seems to have gone on forever, doesn't it, Adam? It seems to have been gone on for about a year. But all of the candidates for the Labour leadership are talking about community power in quite a different way, which is really great. We've got a growing interest in government. We had a dinner last night with fantastic MP Danny, I've forgotten his last name, Gruber, who is brilliant. He's a real champion for community power. And we've kind of decided last night at our dinner, because what we're trying to do is get all of these different thought leaders together to come up with one single plan. Because I think what is brilliant about this government and how they delivered the budget yesterday is it's so simple. You know, let's get this done. We're at a point now where we need to get community power done. We need to use that simple language. We need to come together as thought leaders. It's all very disparate, and we're all kind of ploughing our own think tank furrow. And, you know, people in Wigan are showing that they're better than people in wherever, you know, Preston or wherever. But it's not about that. It's about us banding together, people who've got similar views on the importance of community power, and simplifying it and relating directly to our residents as well as our organisations. So we're calling for a Community Power Act to help us do that. So I've got a couple more minutes left, but shall we move on to the questions, Adam? Is that okay? Great, thank you.
Posting their questions on Slido, it actually works, which is amazing, and this makes my job so easy. I just have to read them out.
Excellent.
So, top question here. Oh, actually, it's just fallen into second place, but I'll ask it anyway. What's the one thing you wish you could go back and do differently if you were starting over from scratch in Wigan?
I mean, I think the thing was, people sometimes think it was we had a bit of a light bulb moment and woke up and suddenly the deal was created. It wasn't like that at all. It was quite an iterative process where we had massive bit differently. We would have moved quicker in some areas. And I'll be honest, you know, there were some members of the council's management team who just didn't buy into it early on, and we maybe should have had those courageous conversations with them, because not all leaders think this is a safe or positive thing to do. Some people are scared of it. Some people really fear communities maybe doing the wrong thing. They think they, as professionals, know the best thing to do. So I think maybe a little bit more courage earlier on. I think it probably took us 2 to 3 years to get it fully embedded across the organisation. This does take time to do it properly. So maybe have those harder conversations earlier on.
And can I just have a follow-up question to that? Because one thing I'm fascinated by is you launched the deal in Wigan 2011, a long time ago. To what extent has the vision changed? Did it develop as you go along? Did it was like fully formed as soon as you launched it and you just followed that plan from the beginning?
I think the core element of it is this is about a relationship, it's about a partnership, it's about power sharing and power being spread across the organisation. So that kind of core principle is at the heart of it. And the kind of there were values at the heart of it as well. So having that clarity of purpose, constancy of purpose, and a series of values that underpin the way that everyone engaged differently with residents, whether you were a midwife, a GP, a social worker, or you emptied the bins. You work differently with residents. So the values were be courageous, not everything we try will work, be positive, people pay a lot to pay your wages, so come on, there were a lot of people there who didn't want to stay in the organisation, who felt it was a job for life, and we had to have some hard conversations about that. And be accountable. You are accountable to local residents, you are a servant of the public. You serve the public, that's what public servants do, and sometimes we forget that. So reminding people of that. And most recently as well, the beauty of the deal is it's continued under the leadership of Alison, the new Chief Executive, and they've added in a new value, which is about be kind. So building on the relational model. So as long as the core principles stay the same and you can build on them and everyone gets it. But again, one of the key things we did, which was so simple to do, and again, I'm really amazed that people don't do it, was we did a place-based organisational development immersive half-a-day experience. So we called it the Be Wigan experience, where every single public servant working in the place went through it, and it was hosted by frontline staff. Your frontline staff know what needs to happen in terms of community power and building neighbourhood teams. They know it instinctively. It's middle and senior management very often stop it, we block it, we put in place rules very often that are not national rules, they're just rules that have developed. So giving people the permission to innovate on the front line was very much what the Be Wigan experience was about. It was values-based, hosted by frontline staff, not by me or directors, and it became a social movement within the organisation initially, and then it spread across the NHS, DWP, everyone, police, everyone who's working in the integrated place-based teams. But it cost us hardly anything to do this, design this Be Wigan thing. And I'm amazed other places don't do it. It really is fantastic.
Thank you. We have a very popular question by far, which is how do you empower people who don't engage with the system, hidden youth, disaffected people who've lost trust in the public sector?
Yeah, I really don't like the word hard to reach. I just think people are not hard to reach. In some way, they are interacting with us every single day. The issue is we don't join up that information across the system and work differently with those individuals. So, there were people who will be assessed and referred multiple times for various interventions or services, and yet we don't concentrate on building the relationship with them. Quick show of hands who's read Radical Help, Hilary Cotham's Radical Help. Okay, there's about half of you read it, but you'll see the experiment that Hilary did in Wigan, where 80% of our time was spent on assessing and referring families and individuals, so-called hidden people, but they weren't hidden. They were actually constantly in touch with us, but we were just processing them along the track of our little bit of the system. Now, similarly, we worked out we had 89 women who over a 5-year period had over 400 children taken into care in the delivery suite of our local hospital. Yet we were completely ignoring those women, 89 women who were grieving for the child that we'd just taken into care. What we were doing, because our KPI was around number of weeks to adopt a child. So I think it's about the way that we engage and work completely differently, building that relationship and reaching out to people. Very often people are disengaged because we're rubbish. Sorry to say it, but why would you engage with something that processes you? I wouldn't. Would you? In your own personal life, no one wants to be processed, do they? But that is the way that we have historically, the KPI culture that we have adopted in this country, heavily centralised, focused on outputs that are not the right outputs for the way people live their lives in modern day Britain. It's a long answer.
No, that's fantastic. Second question there, very popular issue, very close to my heart and yours, I know. What are your tips to facilitate a culture change from leaders? Probably the most fundamental thing you can do.
Okay. I think leaders, have we got any chief execs in the room today? Okay, that's interesting. Not one chief exec, which is brilliant.
I can spot a couple of others. They're being very secretive, actually.
Keeping their hands down. It's okay, I'm not going to pick on you, but I honestly think we need a different type of leader. You know, not saying that people all chief execs, because it's a tough job. You know, particularly tough at the moment with, you know, what do you do around planning, emergency planning, with the situation at the moment. You know, all the real hard pressure that you get. It is really, really, really tough. But at the same time, we need leaders who are brave enough and courageous enough and mature enough to let go, to give their staff the freedom and the permission to innovate and just go ahead and do the things that they know will actually help residents, that we're stopping them from doing because of the rules and the system that are just plain bonkers. So I think we need a different type of leader. I was recently on the NHS, went to the NHS a leadership academy for aspiring chief executives of foundation trusts. And you know, it's a great program, but there wasn't much around communities, there wasn't much around system working. And you know, I do really feel we need to expose leaders more to real communities. We need to get them to go and shadow somebody who works in a community business. They need mentors from the community to tell them what life's really like, working in some of our, you know, challenged communities. And I think they've got a lot to learn from the community, I really do. But I really do feel as well there are a lot of people who just don't get this stuff. You know, they're more interested in building the next shiny new train station or whatever, and they think their job is economic development. I think it was in the 90s, but you know, we've been through that. We've been through the market paradigm, we've been through the state paradigm. We desperately need a new community paradigm leadership mindset.
Okay, there's a third question up there, but I think it's a little bit similar to a question we've had, and there's another question on the list which I think is a great question, which I'd like to put to you, and it'll be our last question. If we're not in leadership positions, how can we get local authorities to take this approach seriously?
That's really good. I mean, I think you need to connect with the spark plug people in the system, because they are always there. It only takes one or two people to change the culture of a place over time. The larger the organisation, the longer it takes. But there are people, sometimes they're at very junior levels, but they really do get this stuff, and connecting with them within the organisation. The reason we managed to improve Healthy Life Council, it was the preventative work being done with communities. It was the 13 million being put into community projects. It wasn't the organisation. So I don't think people know what communities can do. And I think presenting it as here's how I can help you, here's how we can work together, across the whole organisation, children's, adults, because there's a real massive pressure of demand for leaders, and they need your help.
Thank you very much indeed. That was fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Donna. Incredibly both inspirational and practically incredibly useful as well. I'm chair at NLGA, just as she was Chief Executive of Wings. So thank you so much, Donna, and thank you for that great talk. We are going to move infinitely because of coronavirus. Some of the people who were going to come and run the session sessions are unable to make it. I'm sure you will understand that. So that means that 3 of the sessions, unfortunately, these ones will not be happening. So Future Gov's session Organising for Change is cancelled. Future Care Capital on social care is not happening. And Losing Control's session, which was called Messing Up, is also cancelled, I'm afraid. Real apologies for that, but I'm sure you will understand under the circumstances why that is the case. Now, many of you will have pre-registered for the other sessions. It'd be great if you could go to those sessions, but given that 3 of the breakouts are cancelled, let's just make it a bit of a free-for-all, okay? So just have a look in your programme. We have names of the sessions up there that are happening. Find the one you want to go to and just go to it. If it's looking particularly full, don't worry, you can find another one. We are repeating all of the sessions again later today, so you will be able to go to at least 2 of these. And the rooms are there as well. So again, follow signs, ask staff for your way there. And I think that is it. It's going to be loud. Some of the sessions are in the same room. It's going to be loud, it's going to be buzzy. It's a marketplace of ideas. That's the whole point of the thing. Off you go. Yeah.